Hi, my name is John McAllister, and welcome to the Setting Trick podcast. The definition of torture is watching me try to come up with these introductions. Today's guest is Al Bender. Al Bender got my attention with an article he posted on the website Bridge Winners, really going through in a lot of detail about the methods he was using to both teach, retain, and recruit youth in the Seattle area and beyond. And the reason that I wanted to have Al on the show is because I want to see this repeated across the country. I mean, I'd like to see it repeated across the world. The big revelation here is that the model of going into a school with a teacher and teaching students at schools on one-off basis really doesn't work. The best way to teach Bridge to young people is virtually. And so that, I hope, is the takeaway from this session. And Al really, in this conversation and in his Bridge Winners articles, gives a masterclass on how to recruit and teach students. Yeah, so let's get to it. All right, so here I have Al Bender. Al Bender is a bridge player and teacher in Seattle, Washington, and we've spoken once before. And I learned about Al because he wrote an article on Bridge Winners, which many of you probably know if you're listening to this, talking about how COVID has actually been a boon for teaching kids bridge. And that, frankly, is some of the best news that I've gotten since this whole thing happened.
The organization is a nonprofit we work for. It has a new name called Bridge for Youth, has been teaching bridge to grades 4 through 12 since 2015. So we have quite a few years of experience in trying to teach kids bridge and what works and what doesn't work. The previous teaching model was face-to-face. We would literally get agreement with a school, most often middle schools, and we would assign a teacher, and a teacher would go to middle school on a predetermined day after school as an enrichment program, and we would literally lug bridge tables into the library or the cafeteria and then give a lesson. This model was not hugely successful. What are the key problems we had? One, it's enormously difficult to get into a school. But the barriers that the school sets up are huge. And usually, if we didn't have a bridge playing parent with a child in a school, it never happened. Secondly, when we taught in a school or went to a school, we rarely got enough students to make what I would call critical mass. We would have 3, 4, 5 students. That's a lot of work for a teacher to get in a car and drive there for just a handful of students. And the final problem, which is somewhat disappointing, is that we had no way to continue the kids' education. We would get them for the first semester. By second semester, we had more new kids coming in. And when we had the more new kids coming in, we couldn't, very hard to create a curriculum that would cover both the new kids and the old kids. So we tended to get kids for one semester, maybe 2 semesters, and then we would lose them. 12 months ago, along comes COVID. We're not allowed in the school. We had to rethink our model of what we're going to do. So we said, well, let us teach bridge online. We knew nothing about teaching bridge online. So this was a brand new experience and a learning experience. And we're still learning today. Every time we have a class, every time we have a session, we make changes as we get better. The first class I tell the kids they were our tester pancakes. They were the what we tried first and learned from and decided how to change. The online model has a number of very key advantages compared to the problems I mentioned. One, the schools don't care. There's no requirement to get any school permission to do an online model. So we have no hurdle to get over a school. Secondly, we aggregate kids from a lot of schools. So we don't need to have critical mass. One major school, we have one kid. That's fine. Though he goes on with those. So we able to aggregate kids from all over the state of Washington. This is what we're doing. And Thirdly, we group kids by skills, not by school. So it's not school specific. So we have a class which is a what we call basic bridge. This is a beginner class. And when the kids complete their basic bridge class, we have a next class which we call an improver class. And after they get to a level of skills, we have a third class which we call our advanced class. And if the advanced class gets really strong and capable students, we then match them up with adult mentors and take them into a mentoring program. So we are now able to engage kids from 4th grade through 12th grade and keep them learning and active the whole time. That's what's happening. So then we didn't learn a whole lot. So we did our first online session starting June 30th of last year. This was over the summer. We ran a 12-week class of both bidding and play. We had approximately 21 students register for that class. It was probably somewhat an anomaly because there was no summer camps, nothing was going on, so the students were looking for something to do. The model, the teaching technique we used is we did bidding first and then play the hand. Then we had a 50% attrition, so we were learning the process. Then we started a second class in September. We had about 32 students sign up. This would be the first semester. Again, same teaching model of bidding first and play the hand second. The reason I mention that is because bidding is boring to the students, whereas play the hand is a lot more fun than you and I would probably think it is, but it is fun to them. And so we analyzed everything we're doing. And the other problem we had after the first 2 sessions, that 12 weeks was not enough. The students weren't coming out of a 12-week sessions with enough skills to move to the improver class. They just were not there yet. So once again, we rethought our model. We did 2 things. One, we start with play the hand first, which is actually pretty easy because we use the SharkBridge platform and we can preset the contract so that when we give the students hands to play, it's a 3-note trump contract. When they get it, the lead is on the table and they get to play out the hand. They don't have to worry about how they bid it. So we do play the hand first, and we've had 2 sessions. The effect of that has been we have much less attrition. We haven't, or the 2 classes we're doing to play the hand first are ongoing. We have not finished the play the hand yet, so we haven't started the bidding, so I don't know how it's going to progress as we go into the bidding. So we started 2 sessions in January this year, and we recruited an amazing 110 students for these 2 sessions. You might say, how is that possible?
Well, how many kids did you have in the program when you were doing schools?
On the schools at any given time, we had maximum of 40 to 50. And part of that, there was a Northwest Chinese school that we taught on Saturday mornings, and the Northwest Chinese school would contribute as much as 24 students. So we got a lot of students from one program from the Chinese community in the greater Seattle area. We have a certain set of unique circumstances in the Seattle area that other areas might have, but may not have to the same degree. We have a number of platforms for recruiting that are online.
Yeah.
A large number of the schools in this state and all up and down the East-West Coast use a flyer system called Peachjar, Peachjar. It's a website. And providers can present a flyer, put together a flyer. I use Canva, which is a free site for creating a flyer. And you can present a flyer to a specific school. Like we tend to select middle schools as our starting point, and sometimes high schools. And if the flyer gets approved, which it almost always does, it is sent out to every parent in the school, because they all subscribe it. So we reach 100% of the parents of the schools. The ability to recruit that way is tremendous, because before that, we would literally go to the school and set up a table at lunch hour with some poster boards, and we would go around passing out flyers and trying to attract students with modest success. And one of the very unusual aspects of the online model in terms of recruiting In the face-to-face model, we recruited 100% boys. 100. Every single student was a boy. With the ongoing online model, at least 50%, if not more, are girls.
Wow.
And that is interesting. I saw you have on your site, you had a discussion with a woman from the UK that does studies bridge at the university level. I can't remember the name of Samantha. And I asked her about it, and she said that is a very interesting phenomenon. I believe that has to do with girls being intimidated by the boys at that age group. And so the online is far less threatening to them. So we have a lot of girls, and the girls are great at playing bridge. I mean, and they're probably better mental readiness than some of the boys that we have in the class. So that is kind of interesting. So we have the peach jar, and we have within our area, there are in the order of 1,000, 2,000 schools that subscribe to peach jar. Unfortunately, the two biggest metropolitan areas, Seattle and Bellevue, do not. So we have a hard time reaching those two districts. The other platform we have is there a platform here in the Seattle area's headquarters is 6 Crickets. And they're up and down the West Coast, and I think they're expanding east. And the 6 Crickets is a marketplace for youth activities, heavily focused on camps, but other programs for enrichment and after school. If you go to 6 Crickets, you will see 500 different programs being offered, from chess to guitar lessons to coding, all sorts of opportunities, and then lots of summer camps. And so the 6 Crickets has associated a fee with it that we have to pay, but we just look at a cost of recruiting a student. By the way, Peach Jar does charge a fee for the flyers. However, if you're a nonprofit and you offer the program for free, we have given the opportunity to submit 25 flyers per month at no charge. And that's a big savings, because normally it's about $500 per 25 schools or 20 schools, $500 per 20. And we're a nonprofit. We don't have a lot of money. So we use the free flyer system for doing the online. The other aspect of the online model is that in the time frame we started this, in August of last year, we started our first class in the end of June, but in August last year, a new teaching platform came online called the Shark Teaching Council, SHARK, Shark. The Shark Teaching Council changes the whole dynamics of the teaching bridge. In fact, to the extent, even if I go back to a face-to-face model, I would want every student to have some type of laptop or iPad or whatever they would have, and I would still teach using Shark. Wow. You say, why Shark? Shark enables us to preset hands that reinforce the lesson. Shark also enables us to sit every student in a single seat, usually south for us, and they play with 3 robots. So if the lesson hand is on playing out a no trump hand, every student is playing the same hand. No student is sitting east or west being defenders throwing useless cards because it's not a defense lesson. And no student is sitting there playing dummy. In fact, one of the young girls that was in my class, we were initially using Bridge Base, and when we switched to Shark, she says, and she just blurted out in the middle of a class, "I love this. I no longer have to watch my partner make stupid mistakes." So
I kind of want you to tell me the name of this young woman to track her, but to see how follow her bridge career.
She has the potential to be a bridge star, but I won't give any names out. So in the face-to-face model, we would maybe do 4 hands, and every hand would be declared once, and they would declare 1 hand of the class of a lesson, and that would be the end of it. In this way, every student plays every hand. And the Shark Council gives us a teaching table. So after the students play out the hands, I am able then to reset the hand, and using the teaching table, I can play out the hand to show them how it should be done, and the cards will show up at every table. So they can watch the cards, and I basically can show all 4 hands. I can tell them what I'm thinking and what I'm worried about, and they get to see the complete play every person sitting at a table with instruction. So the learning that they achieve through using this platform is tremendous. And we create the hands that we save, and with the hands are PBN files. We create the hands. If they're no Trump hands, they're all no Trump hands. If there's Trump hands, they're all Trump hands. They all have a particular lesson. We might have a lesson on roughing losers and dummy, which is this week's lesson, by the way. And so all the hands are roughing losers and dummy, and so every student, they get to do it over and over and over again. The
Are
latest,
all those loaded into Shark? Like, once you have it loaded into your Shark, are you then able to access it?
Yes. So the way we work as an organization, since we have multiple teachers, we use Google Drive. We have a folder for curriculum. So lesson 6 is roughing losers and dummy. The lesson is uploaded, which is a Word file to start with, or we change it to a PDF before we send it to the students. We have PBN hands that we have, so any teacher can upload it to Shark, and we can edit them or change them if we find an error. The last thing we added just this session that we've been doing is a way to help the learning and teaching, because a lot of the core concepts are very difficult for the students, is sending the students drills. We create drills. A drill is really a test, but we don't want to call it a test because the students don't want any more tests than they already have. So it's a drill. So the drill is, we use a program online called Testmoz, Testmoz, and we create the drill in an Excel file, and we upload the file into Testmoz, and it shows up as basically problem hands. I give a north hand, a south hand, I provide a lead, and then questions are asked. So what card do you play first? Do you pull Trump first? If not, why? And so there is a list of 5 or 6 questions for every hand that reinforces the lesson and is effectively, for all practical purposes, homework. And so to motivate the students to do the homework, I maintain a leaderboard, because you get a score from Testmoz. So every score is entered into a leaderboard. I send out the leaderboard several times a week to the students so they can see where they stand with their peers. Much to my surprise, which you wouldn't think a leaderboard would be as motivating as a gift certificate at Amazon or something like that. But every time I send out the leaderboard, I get 4 or 5 students taking the drill because they don't like where they are on the leaderboard. So it is a motivation for them to take the drills. And the drills, I don't care if they get the answers right or wrong. It's just the practice and the exercises. So we are now 6 lessons into this new curriculum. And I said before, the first curriculum was 12 weeks. We now have changed it to 20 weeks. The 20 weeks is to try to get deeper and more depth and knowledge for the students. So we have 8 weeks of play of the hand, 8 weeks of bidding, and then the last 4 weeks are defense. And we have yet to get past week 6, but we're expecting that we will have much more success. So in terms of attrition, just as I was talking about, we started with 110 students that registered. The first week, and we had 2 classes, one on Monday and one on Thursday. The first week, 101 showed up. 9 never came. It's a free program, so there's not a lot of motivation to have to come to the program. And we have been having attrition along the way. We are currently getting about 35 students per class, maybe as many as 38, sometimes as few as 28, but we run about 70 students that at this point are pretty hardcore. We run a class on Monday and a class on Thursday just because we had to split it up. There were so many to start with. There's no way a teacher could handle the group. It turned out that was another, what we'd call a serendipity success, in that many students in the course of the initial classes had to shift for one reason or another. They had a conflict, or they couldn't make a class on Monday because they had a doctor appointment, so they'll sit on the class on Thursday, because Bridge is cumulative knowledge. If you miss a class, it gets hard. If you miss 2 classes, it's almost certain you're going to drop out. So having the way for the students to be able to catch up with the 2 classes per week has really reduced the overall attrition of the program, and I think that has been successful. Now, the Monday class is ahead of the Thursday class, so the Monday students, they know they're going to miss, they can take Thursday. The Thursday class needs to know ahead of time they're going to miss to join the Monday class. That they're not as good in taking the Monday class when they're going to miss a Thursday class. But we've had, for example, one student was on the Thursday class and he got selected to be in the boys' choir on Thursdays. And so he switched to the middle to the Monday class so he could continue bridge and continue the boys' choir. And the story, you like stories, the young girl who said she loves the SharkBridge, that I said the comment, I got an email from her parents the other day. They had gone out to the mountains where there's snow in Seattle to go skiing. The intermediate class she's in is on Wednesdays, and she mandated they get to the rental house by 4 o'clock so she wouldn't miss class. So I thought that was wonderful. So I have these little stories to tell. So her parents thought that was amusing enough to share it with me. So this particular young girl is very math centric. She was a chess player, or is a chess player, not was a chess player. So the bridge is very in line with her skills and her disposition. So she's a good match for her. And
how old is she?
She is 12. So we have students as young as 8. We have one 7-year-old. The 7-year-old is actually doing very well. We have students as young as 8. Well, the last recruiting that we did, I forgot to mention this. Why did we get 110 kids at one time? We had the opportunity, and there are around the country what are called parent associations for gifted students. Some places they're called Quest, and there are other organizations, but in the case of the state in our area, one of them is the Lake Washington School District Gifted Educated Association or something, GEAC. And we were asked by them, they saw the flyer that came to the school, one of the schools, and they asked if we would host a bridge tasting program for their families, which we did do using Shark. We created just 4 hands, 2 no trump hands, no dummy. Basically, everyone sits at a table and just throws cards, high trick wins. And then 2 hands, again, no dummy, but with a trump suit. So there was no dummies. And we would preset the contract at 1 no trump or 1 heart. And we would sit them at a table, and everyone 4 to a table, and they would get just to throw cards on the table, win tricks. We had 82 students show up.
Wow.
82 with their parents. Wow. And we was scheduled for an hour. I had extra hands, thank God, because after the 4 hands, which was at an hour point, they said, can we do more? Can we do more? And we did several more, went for an hour and a half. And out of those 82, we had 40 to 50 students that registered. So the gifted students are a group of students whose skills match the difficulty and challenges of learning bridge. So we are now reaching out to other gifted programs in the Washington State area to use them as a recruiting tool. Besides the teaching program, we also do summer camp. So we are right now planning summer camp this year. Last year we did online summer camp. We had 38 students sign up for online summer camp last year. This year we're expanding it. We're going to do more programs, and we are bringing in, and we actually have a bridge pro who's agreed to teach the advanced players is coming in for us. And so we're trying to make it a more Tom
Carmichael?
Carmichael, yes. Tom Carmichael.
Okay. Past guest on the setting trick.
What?
Tom was a recent guest on the show here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tom is going to be teaching the advanced students. And so we are going to do a 1-week bridge tasting session, and we're going to do a 2-week what we're calling boot camp, where we're going to give them the 20-lesson semester course in 2 weeks, 2 lessons a day for 10 days And that they basically do the complete semester course in 2 weeks. And we're calling it boot camp because it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be like military training. And we'll see if we get any students registering for it. But that's our plan. And the summer camp, where we focus the teaching, they see basically the Washington State and the District 19 area, the summer camp we opened to the whole country. Last year we had students from New Orleans, Trenton, New Jersey, Chicago. And the one thing we do offer for students who come to summer camp, if they enter our program through summer camp, which is fee-based, we do charge for summer camp, they are allowed to join our weekly lessons afterwards, which are free. So we have some of our last year summer camp students are regular members at our lessons, and we also run quarterly youth tournaments. Now, the interesting part is we've run the youth tournaments only for ourselves. We are now getting to where we're going to be joining forces with an East Coast Youth Bridge group, and we're going to invite each other to each other's tournaments. So they ran their tournaments at 10 in the morning, which is 7 a.m. for us, which is unacceptable. And we run our tournaments at 7 o'clock at night, which is 10 and 10 p.m. for them, which is unacceptable. So we've been in discussion. So they're going to run their tournaments at 1, so we can come in at 10, and we're going to run our tournaments at 10, so they can come in at 1. And so we can combine the students from 2 major youth organizations. And I have talked a whole lot, but
you are able. I mean, I don't mean to. You are really carrying the mail here.
Okay.
I have questions.
Go ahead.
Which are going to require you to speak more. So I noticed that you've changed the name of the organization to Bridge for Youth from
Correct.
Seattle Next Gen Bridge.
Correct.
I mean, like, one of the things that I'm sitting over here wondering is, why can't we just offer this program to the entire United States? Because I'd like to duplicate what you're doing. I live in Virginia, and I would like to duplicate what you're doing here in Virginia. And it seems like there's a way we could do it. You had this taster session. You had 80 some people at it. How many people did you have? Did you have a table monitor at every table for the taster session?
No, we just had one other teacher because it's all on Shark. You can't have table monitors on Shark. We don't use table monitors in this teaching model, which makes it very scalable. We do use table monitors at tournaments, but not in the teaching, because there's only one student per table, so there's nothing they could be doing to harass each other other than harassing
so you're saying that all 84 people on the taster session were all at their own Shark consoles?
They were in the tasting menu. I put 4 per table. I let them play together. But when we teach, there's only 1 per table. Is how we do that. But in terms of the session, so I am having a call afterwards from Reese Koppel. You know Reese?
I know of him.
Reese Koppel is been chartered by the ACBL Education Foundation, which is not associated with the ACBL. It uses the name or somewhat use it. And the ACBL Education Foundation, he's been chartered to come up with a teaching model or whatever. I'm going to have a call with him after I call with you. And one of the things he's asking is whether or not we would share our curriculum with other areas so they could duplicate this program. And I don't know the answer to that because we have a board of directors and we would have to ask the board. But there is nothing saying that we have done a ton of work in terms of creating these lessons.
Yeah.
The lessons have everything a teacher needs. They can certainly go and hone them themselves and change them or edit them. But we have a complete teaching program that is online that can be shared to any organization that wants to teach. So the only requirement is that you have teachers that are skilled. They would need to be trained on how to use the Shark platform. We use Zoom, and you need a Zoom Pro account. That's because we run our classes an hour and a half, and the free account only is 40 minutes. And Shark also charges per student $1 per hour. But what they have agreed to do, if we are offering the program for free to students, they give us the service for free. So we're a nonprofit. The amount of dollars we have are nickels and dimes. So everything we can do to have a free program is to keep the cost down are very, very important to us. class. We as a board have not specifically, we were actually going to address the Reese Koppel's request for the lessons at our next board meeting. And my call with Reese is to kind of find out what he wants with them, what he's going to do with them, how he's going to use them. But back to your original question, it would be very easy to start up this program using our materials. You would only need trained teachers, and the teaching skills is they don't need to be the best bridge players. They need to be good with kids. You can't talk down to them. In fact, some of our best teachers are teachers. I mean, they teach kids math or science or some other topic and happen to be bridge players. And they are very, very good with the students. And that's important. We've had one teacher that is very good bridge player, but he just was not very touchy. He's not the right touchy-feely skills with the students. He did not do well. So that's the case. And our biggest problem from scaling, by the way, is we can't get enough teachers. Teachers are hard. So back to you, I'll ask your question. Why can't we get teachers from all over the country teaching other programs? In other words, why can't we have a teacher in Virginia teaching a program in Seattle, or in Seattle teaching in Virginia?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. How many people do you have for the Monday night class, like teaching?
Right now we have 4 teachers and 1 teacher assistant. I teach Monday, and we have this with this assistant. We have another teacher that teaches Thursday with an assistant. We have a third teacher that teaches the improver class with the same assistant. So this assistant goes to all 3 classes. And then we have a 4th teacher that teaches on the Wednesday, also same time frame, the advanced class. And these are dedicated students. They come every single week. They don't miss a class. The improvers and the advanced week. Our advanced class has 8 students that come every single week, and our improver class has 18 that come every single week. And we will be graduating in May 60. We are struggling now. How are we going to handle 60 new kids into the improver class? That is what we're worried about. We're trying to recruit teachers to help so we can have more than 1 improver class to handle the 60 graduates. So again, scaling this program is somewhat a function of our ability to get teachers. And we are out scrounging around trying to find additional teachers for this program. So anything you can do through your webcast to get teachers would be wonderful.
Well, how long is the class on Monday and Thursday nights?
Hour and a half.
And you teach just one of the 2 classes?
I teach the Monday class, and we have a separate teacher that teaches the Thursday class. But I have been known to teach 2 classes a week. I'm retired, so I certainly have the time, but I want to keep as many teachers engaged as possible. I'm also the treasurer of the organization. I do all the promotion for the classes. I'm doing promotion for the summer camp. So there's a lot of activities that are ongoing.
How many hours a week do you think you're working on this program?
Well, that's really not fair. My Thursday partner creates, quote, half the lessons, and I create half the lessons. But I probably put in the order of 20 hours of preparation for the lessons. So if I'm doing 4 lessons, that's 80 hours. I actually am doing more than my fair share because he doesn't have the same amount of time I have, and I have to agree to take on some of the burden from him. So I have doing the lesson. And the hardest part of the lesson is not the PowerPoint or the whiteboard session, what I call it, because our whiteboard sessions are only 10 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes max. So our teaching method is teaching by doing, not teaching by talking. The whiteboard, the time it takes is creating the hands. Every hand is custom designed to teach the lesson we're trying to teach. And I don't necessarily create the hand all myself. Some I do, some I modify, but there are hands from Larry Cohen, other hands I have taken free liberty. Take anything that's on the web, I'm taking free liberty to use. So I search the web for hands that are meaningful. I get the hands from the newspaper every day. There's sometimes wonderful hands for the students that I then just convert to a PBM file. There was one this week on roughing and discarding. So I then just copied into the PBM file. But getting the hands is the hard part. The drills are enormously difficult to create. You have to use, it's basically an HTML language you have to use. I don't know HTML language. My Thursday teacher does know HTML language, and he has given me a template that I use, and I kind of just change the cards of the hands and change the questions. But it's still very, very difficult to create the drills. But once they're done, then you're just doing the teaching. So it's a matter of how many sessions a week you do. So so in terms of giving up the lessons, we are probably giving up, if we were to give them away, we're probably giving away tens of thousands of dollars of value. Not that we specifically are looking for tens of thousands of dollars of value. I'm just saying that's what would be offered to other areas should they use the lessons.
Yeah. Like why is it too many kids to have on one night? Like why? Because the kids are, from our previous conversation, they're all on Zoom with you and you're giving them the PowerPoint, but are they asking questions in the chat or like?
No. Okay. So the students are pretty shy. They don't ask a lot of questions, even though they're getting a little bit more active now that they're getting to know us. So they're asking many more questions.
I'm glad to hear that.
On Shark, the max I can handle is about 40 tables. So you have to understand the Shark platform, I literally see every table. So I have the teacher screen. So I see 40 tables on my screen. I have a large monitor and I look at every table and I watch the progress of every student, or try to watch the progress. And much more than 40, 45 is enormously difficult. And the student might say, "Oh, I made a mistake. Can I go back a trick?" And I can put them back a trick. Then I have to say, "What table are you at?" And I have to go to table 20 and back them up. So initially I did in the first couple of weeks of 50 tables, 55 tables. It's hard. I'm actually now down to the mid-30s. Mid-30s is very doable. So it's really a function of being able to watch all the tables.
So that's kind of the bottleneck, is that you can only watch so many tables on Shark yourself and be a good administrator of the Shark platform.
Correct. Even though the Shark platform can handle up to 200 kids. So if we just do it kind of to the numbers, as play out the hand, here's how to play. No, I can't answer questions. I can't do resets. I can't watch the hands. I could do more, but we try to provide an experience that the students enjoy. And some of the things they like to tell me, for example, they will play out a hand and they will say, "I took 8 tricks. I took 7 tricks," and they want to announce the tricks they took. And I would have to say, well, 8 tricks were the sure winners you had. The challenge was to find the 9th trick, and you didn't find the 9th trick. Well, I'm going to show you how to find the 9th trick.
So they're saying that in Zoom, like their audio?
On the audio from Zoom, yes.
Okay.
So that they like doing that. That's a lot of fun for them to announce their number of tricks they took.
Right.
And it's amazing. They have so much fun, and they're so bad at it. But I look at this. When I was much, much younger and I had young children, I taught soccer.
Yeah.
And when the students were 8 years old in the soccer, they would all gather around the ball, and the coaches would yell, "Play your positions, play your positions." They all gathered around the ball. It didn't make any difference what you said. Yeah. By age 9, they still gathered around the board. Maybe one person be, but if they got to be 10 and 12 or 11 and 12, they start playing positions. So bridge is the same thing. These are 8, 9, 10-year-old students. They're learning a game. They'll get better. If they stick with it, they'll get better every year. They don't have to figure it all out and get it right the first time. So we don't really care if they play it right. We just care that they're having fun. And the major goal of our whole program is fun first. And that was the problem with the one teacher I mentioned that didn't do well, is it wasn't about fun for him. It was about doing it right.
I believe it. I've been that guy.
You've been that guy? Oh, well.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I've definitely been that guy. I continue to be that guy sometimes. So how did you find out about SharkBridge? Because SharkBridge seems to be like a big part of the revelation here.
One of our other teachers, the person who teaches the intermediate class, somehow got a wind of it, and he went into a training session, and he came back and announced that this is something we really need to look at, and we all jumped on Shark. And I was using Shark before it went live. We used Shark for last year's Bridge Camp in August, and they didn't go live until September. So we were kind of a beta site for them. So
Mm,
it is, and the ACBL has adopted it. The ACBL has been pushing. They've been doing training sessions. You can get shark certifications on ACBL now.
mm.
And in fact, I'm up on getting it. So the ACBL believes that this is the right teaching platform also. So
Uh,
Reese Koppel, by the way, he was the one who wrote the program Tricky Bridge. Are you aware about Tricky Bridge?
well, he didn't write the program, but he's involved, I think, at
Oh, okay, all right. So I may be wrong. So he did, and his niece or daughter or niece took our camp last year. Caroline Koppel was in our camp, and she lives in New Orleans, so she
well,
was in
maybe she was his sister because I think Reese is in college.
well, it could have been his sister. Well, Caroline was about 16, so it could have been his sister.
Yeah, I think he's in college at Yale. We interviewed the founder of Tricky Bridge is a guy named Scott.
All right, so I learned something too.
The kids are not interacting really with each other. It's kind of interacting with Shark. Do you think that that's a weakness in the program that they're not able to like get to know each other?
Yeah, absolutely. Bridge is a social game. I actually played chess when I was young and changed over to bridge somewhere along the way. And you would think that chess and bridge provide the same sort of mental challenge or similar, but the bridge provided a social aspect that you don't get with chess. And so the social aspect is important, and they're not getting the social aspect. Even when we have tournaments, there's not much of a social aspect in the tournaments. So that is a negative, nothing that I can see how to handle that. Let's say we get to a point where I can do face to face camp again. So all the students come to a location that we find that we can rent, and they come out in there and they can interact and go out and run around a bit in the middle of the day. Regardless, I would still use SharkBridge to teach them because it's a better teaching method.
Yeah.
And they could all sit at the same table, and they would all be sitting south as far as Shark is concerned. But
It seems like once you get that in person, like you're going to have all these kids, 70 kids, let's say, that are going to have learned the basics. And once you get them together in some way, that seems like that's going to have a real, like, there's going to be like an explosive kind of, because then they're like, oh, we should play together on bridge bit, like that. When they start playing together and getting together online, I think that's going to.
So a lot of the students, our advanced students play online all the time. They play tournaments, they play ACBL tournaments, they play regional tournaments online. They are pretty dedicated students. The intermediate, the improvers, not so much, even though we also run a Sunday fun bridge. Everyone comes on to BBO, and we just set up tables we have table monitors, and they just play bridge. And we get about 3 tables a week doing that, and potentially more as we graduate these students. If we have enough students, our local Seattle Bridge unit, when they run a sectional, they will do a youth section.
Yeah.
So they'll have a Saturday or a Sunday youth section that we will have, and we might be able to get as many as 40, 50, 60 kids at a youth session. So we're building up a base of students that will be ready to go to the next tournament when we have one.
How come you changed the name?
That's a good question. So in reality, we didn't specifically change the name. We merged 2 organizations. We had 2 organizations in Seattle, the Seattle Next Gen Bridge and Bridge for Youth. The Seattle Next Gen Bridge taught the online lessons, weekly lessons, and they also ran the tournaments. The Bridge for Youth ran the summer camp and the University of Washington Husky Bridge Club. They were 2 separate organizations, and the biggest expense a nonprofit has is insurance. We spend $1,700 a year on insurance. Bridge for Youth spends $1,700 on insurance. It just didn't make sense to have 2 organizations servicing the same group. And board members of Bridge for Youth were on the board of Seattle. We were doing both jobs. So this year there was a discussion as why don't we merge the 2 organizations? So we literally have just completed the merger of the 2 organizations, and there was a committee and they put together new bylaws and they had to come up with a name. And the decision of the committee was that they liked the Bridge for Youth name. So we kept the Bridge for Youth name. So that's how it happened. So it's basically the outcome of a merger of two organizations. We also merged the board of directors. We have board members from both organizations,
Gotcha.
previous organizations, and the new board. So we used to have a 9-person board. Now we have an 11-person board that is servicing all the youth activities in this area. And I believe it's a much better, having two separate organizations was diluting the resources. It's better to have one organization to focus all the resources on the students. I realize I've used the word kids multiple times. We're not allowed to use the word kids. It's the meaning. So we're supposed to use students or youth.
All right.
I'm just warning you that.
There you go. You want to? We can. There's this podcast editing platform called Descript, where you can actually change the words.
No.
You can use the person's name and change the words. We could potentially change all of those references to I don't know. I'm not going to promise that.
No, you don't have to. It will survive. What type of listeners? How many people listen to your podcast?
Typically, like an episode will get about 500 downloads on average, and some have been downloaded as many as maybe like 1,800, 1,900. Gavin Wolpert's our first one, so that's the most downloaded one. It's not quite at 2,000 the last time I looked.
Wow.
Well, Bridge Winners, we've published a lot of the episodes on Bridge Winners. I think it's a pretty select group that, like, I've shared the episodes with non-Bridge players, and they've kind of said that it goes over their head. They don't really understand.
Right.
And so we're not really catering to non-Bridge players, frankly. It'd be nice if they were interested, but it hasn't really been the goal. So I got in touch with you, Al. I learned about you on Bridge Winners, and then I reached out to you on Bridge Winners, and you got right back to me. So if anybody listening, they can reach out to you on Bridge Winners. I'd say that's a good way to get in touch with you if they have questions about what you're doing.
That's fine. I mean, I share it with Bridge Winners partly because you asked the question, why isn't this duplicated? I would like to see it duplicated. I mean, I would like to see 2,000 students in classes every day.
That would be fantastic. That gives me some chills, bud.
And I want this is getting towards the end of this conversation. I enjoy teaching the children, and it's fun. And I'm hoping that I am able to make the difference in some student's life. So for whatever reason, in my own background, I had one teacher that directed me towards a university that I probably would not have gone to, which I ended up attending, which changed my life. And that was his alma mater. So I'm hoping I can make a difference. We have some students that have disabilities, even learning disabilities. If we can give them a platform that they can help express themselves, then we're making a difference. So
totally.
And so that is all I can hope for. And that's fun if you can make a difference. I don't think we're going to necessarily create the next world champions, but we might. One of our students, I didn't mention, one of our students, age 10, qualified for the U.S. World Championship team for the age group 10 to 16 at age 10. He's now age 11. He's still on the 10 to 16 age group. And he's an amazing student. He started playing at age 8, and I can't even begin to tell you how fast he has learned the game. We have two students called the He brothers, Eddie and, say Edward and Eddie, because it possibly could be they're brothers. They routinely win tournaments. They're both 12 or 13, maybe 13 by now.
Are all these kids in the advanced class?
Yes, they're in the advanced class. Arthur, who's on the world team, he has a coach and he's on a team, so he doesn't take our classes anymore. They have coaches whatever ACBL coaches over there that create
the USBF junior program is the program you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So they have they matched them up with a partner from Boston. And so he has a Boston partner that he met for the first time when he went to Atlanta last year to qualify for the World Championship. And he did qualify, and we were cheering in the stands here in Seattle for Arthur. A great job.
Well, Al, I tell you, man, you have really done a great job of wrapping this up. I love that you see this as an opportunity to be of service and you're really doing it. So hats off to you.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to tell us about our program. Hopefully others that listen to this might think about trying to duplicate it.
Absolutely. That's amen. I'd like to point out that SharkBridge is offering their program for free to Youth for Bridge, and also the Youth Bridge Association is using the SharkBridge platform for free. And while I haven't used it, I've heard that it is an excellent mechanism for getting every student to face the exact same problem. I just want to thank Al for his enthusiasm and his willingness to share. He's really dedicated himself to the spreading of Bridge, and my hat's off to him. If you know somebody that might be interested in doing a similar program, please have them reach out to Al. I'm happy to put you in touch, or I reached him through Bridge Winners. We want to see a thriving game. We want to take advantage of what we've learned from COVID here. The fact that this pandemic is going to be a real blessing to Bridge, I think, is an unexpected and an amazing bonus. Finally, Double Dummy, the Redux, is coming soon. If you want to see a feedback cut, email me, john@thesettingtrick.com. We're going to be doing a virtual premiere where we're going to make the film available for watching for a 4-day weekend. Not exactly sure on the date for that, but sign up for our Setting Trick email list if you want to be kept informed of when that will take place. That's at thesettingtrick.com.